Why don't we do introductions first? Laura, do you want to go?
Sure. I'm Laura Riley. I'm the Managing Director of Chicago Wilderness, and it's nice to see you all on this nice, cool day. I'll pass it to Tim.
Hi, everybody. Tim Brennan. I'm Vice President of Programs and Strategic Impact at Farm Foundation. And I live in a very old house that is very cold today, so I apologize for my bundled up appearance. And I'll toss it to Michelle.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Blackburn, Forest Preserve District of Kane County. I'm the Agricultural Coordinator and sitting with Tim on the Ag Committee. And I'll pass it over to Bob.
Hey everybody, Bob Hoyer, H&A Networks Consulting, and I will pass to Ted. Have you spoken yet?
Not yet. Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ted Hafner, and I am the Green Vision Initiative Coordinator for Chicago Wilderness. And you'll see some of that coordination in action today, because I think I have some stuff that even Tim and Michelle don't know about yet. So, and I will pass it to Kelsey.
Hi there. My name is Kelsey Music. I'm the Senior Environmental Planner with the Illinois Tollway. I have background at soil and water conservation as well. So I'm just one of 3 environmental people at the Illinois Tollway. And I'll pass it to Judith. Did you go yet?
No, I haven't. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay, so hi, I'm Judith Wallace with the Forest Preserve District of Will County. My title is Land Management Coordinator, and I'm in charge of all the district ag and hay program.
Good.
Oh, and I will pass it to Kyla.
Hi, I'm Kyla Muhammad, the Will County Program Director at the Conservation Foundation. I will pass it to Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Egan here. I am Director of Conservation Planning with Open Lands. Normally, I think Emily Racewig joins you all, but she is out on Fridays now with a new leadership program that she's part of. So I'm just here to listen in. And I think I'll pass it to John. Did I get that right? John, have you gone? Or maybe Sherry. Sorry.
John, you're muted. We can't hear you.
I'm Stephen. Hi, sorry about that, everybody. Hello, I'm John Stephen Bianucci. I'm with Hoyer Network Associates.
Do you want me to jump in?
Sure.
Hey everyone, I'm Cherie Fisher. I'm a program consultant with the Chicago Wilderness Alliance, and I'm not here. Yeah, I'm mostly here to just listen in and provide support if any is needed.
Yeah. Cherie, if you don't mind, either helping take notes, or someone could help take notes in the running minutes, and maybe Cherie could take them in the in session lab. I'm going to share the slides for Ted, so I'm going to do that starting now.
Okay, I got session lab.
Can. Okay. All right, I had them open a minute ago, so give me a minute. Nope. Jeez. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back and get that link. Am I still sharing? I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Oh, gosh. This is. Ted, I may need you to reshare. Yep. Okay, I got it. Okay. I'm super sorry, everyone. I should have gotten this link sooner.
We're running as cold as the temperature outside.
Yes.
It's appropriate today.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay, next slide, please, Laura. We've done introductions. Let's go to announcements on the next slide, please. Okay, so the first announcement is the newsletter went out today for Chicago Wilderness Alliance, and if you've poked through it, the Green Vision update is all about Will County and the Will County Quality of Life Plan soft launch that we're interested in moving forward in 2026. I'll talk more about this later, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention. We have a form in there with a short description in the newsletter about what we hope to accomplish. And really the form just asks for your name, your organization and affiliation, email for future contact, and if you want to stay informed of this project, in which case we would put you on sort of a mailing list. And if you want to participate in the project, we would put you on a different list and reach out to you directly once we send out the emails for the hard launch. And I'll explain more of this later. So just if you be patient, we'll get into this in a little bit. I don't think there are any questions yet because we'll discuss this later. So let's go to the next slide, Laura, please. Now, in a separate GVI goal team, in the land protection team, we had been focused on legislation, advocacy, and preservation writ large, so to speak. And one of the efforts that is being brought to the table is this Illinois Farmer Tax Benefit Act. I'm going to go through this at a very high level today. This is being done by Claire Shipp and I don't remember the other gentleman who's working with her on this. But essentially what this legislation aims to do is to look for tax credits and easements on farmland. Next slide, please. The goal is to protect natural and working lands for future generations by protecting land. And they give a couple of facts and figures to the right of protecting land that I'll let you read, but I will not. They also, with this act, want to leverage funding. Apparently, we leave a lot of money on the table or do not receive a lot of money that akin to other states that apparently have their act together. So these matching funds, we just leave on the table. As you can see, Colorado and Connecticut get quite a bit more than we do. And they're working to leverage that so that we don't leave this money on the table. And then what are they hoping to deliver for impact-wise here? Farm viability and diversification, recreation and tourism, greenhouse gas emission reductions, clean drinking water, stronger local economies, and wildlife habitat and healthy soil. Next slide, please, Laura. So if this is of interest to you, please scan the QR code. It will take you to a web page that is also a form of sorts. I have signed up. I have not received any emails yet, but it gives you a little bit larger presentation than I grabbed. I grabbed the sort of 3 high-level slides, but there are probably 6 slides altogether that go into a little bit more detail on this. They're asking folks to sign a petition. They want a signing and sharing of the letter of support. They want legislators involved, and so there's some advocacy there. Perhaps testifying in a committee, storytelling to media and education and or for educational materials, and then working with your legislators to protect land. They're working on a 1-pager as we speak, and then as well as a 4-page policy brief. So like I said, if you're interested, scan the QR code with your phone and it should take you to the web page that will give you the form to sign up. The other thing that you can do is contact Claire Shipp directly, and her email is right there for you. So if you're interested and have questions, please do contact Claire, because this is her baby, and she's very excited about this. This is brand new, hot off the presses in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So this is probably what I think Tim and Michelle and others may not be aware of, but it has bubbled up in other goal groups. And since I'm the coordinator, this is sort of my job, is to bring information in from other meetings into wider sharing and dispersal for others. I would entertain questions, but it's I've basically given you all of the materials that I'm aware of and that I can confidently explain and translate. So if there are questions, I'm willing to take them, but I would honestly refer you to Claire and her email if you do have more in-depth questions. But I'll try to take some now if there are any. Nope. All right, I'm gonna, with this, turn it over to Tim for his report, and then I will come back to talk to you about the Will County initiative in a little bit. And Laura, if you want to stop the slides, I don't have any other slides.
I don't have too much to share, but that, Todd, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's one of the most encouraging things I've seen in the state of Illinois around land use in a long time. So I'd say one of the other things that worries me so much, though, is land ownership and who is buying and owning farmland in Illinois. 25% of our farmland is owned by out-of-state interests, and we have every reason to believe that's going up. Now, that's not necessarily a scary thing, but what concerns me is what we've talked about a lot before, and that's the growing limited farmland in America and how this area of farmland will grow in importance. And if we're not protecting all of that, or at least having a strategy for how decisions are made about production areas, then I think we're missing an opportunity. So I will reach out to them and see if I can't make a case to include some of that in there. We recently, Farm Foundation, my organization, held one of our annual meetings in El Paso, Texas last week, and it was about the future of farm and agricultural policy. And one of the ideas that kind of surprised me, because it came from very large scale grain farmers, row crop farmers in Indiana, was protecting AA farmland, that literally putting development rules against the highest quality farmland. And of that group of people, I least expected them to propose a government intervention to protect farmland at that level. But it made me really, really happy. And there's some movement in other states to put laws on the books to protect the best of the farmland from development. And I think that's another area that I would like to recommend that they look at. There are different types of farmland. There's different types of uses, and we're going to see use evolve here very quickly. It's happening already here in this area. I was in northern Ohio over the holidays. The amount of new orchards going in, where orchards stood 40 years ago but were torn down, but the amount of apple trees being planted in Ohio was remarkable. And this is all about farm diversification and the massive systematic change that's happening right now, particularly around commodity cropping. And so I thought that AA farmland protection movement was really, really interesting. And so, Laura, I apologize to everybody. I'm getting over the flu, and so my brain's not functioning well. Could you put up the agenda? I had 2 items, and now I'm not even remembering what they were. Or you can just tell me if you can see it. While Laura digs that up, just thanks to everybody for being here and continuing to be part of this group. One of the things I did want to talk about was leveling issues that we as an organization can amplify. And thank you, Ted, for bringing that to the surface. That's exactly what I'm hoping for. So if your organizations have things that can be amplified through our committee to the Chicago Wilderness Group, we very much would like to do that. And so we'd also like to do more cafes this year. I think there's so much to talk about in farming and agriculture, and there's a lot of questions and a lot of anxiety. And I think also a lot of opportunity. And so I'd really like to do that, and just would like to ask everybody to think about partnering with us to put on some cafes and sharing some of the issues or ideas that you have around agriculture in Illinois. This is going to be a hard year for our farmers, especially farmers that are fully committed to commodity cropping. It's not looking good. Yesterday, the U.S. House really let us down. They were poised to approve year-long E15 ethanol, and they decided that they didn't know enough about ethanol and it needed more study, which after 40 some years of ethanol was quite a surprise to the sector. But it was really disappointing. Ethanol and biofuels are the one way that we can at least temporarily work our way out of the situation and the stocks that we have saved right now. So that was a pretty disappointing move. So farm anxiety has not gotten better. The bridge that the Trump administration has offered to farmers to sort of make it through this year is not enough. It's not going to do it. As you probably all know, we more than doubled farm bankruptcies last year. It's just going to get worse this year. And so anything we can do to lift up farmers and help out. We at Farm Foundation really think that diversification is the thing that farmers want to hear and talk about and learn about the most. But open to other ideas. Was it Kelsey that you have your hand up? Oh, no, not Kelsey.
Yeah,
Sorry, I can't see name. Oh, okay.
When you have a second, I was just going to
Sure, go
add
ahead.
something. So the Illinois Tollway we're trying to develop our next capital program. Those usually last around 14, 15 years, or the last one did anyway. And earlier this year, my leadership at the Illinois Tollway met with leadership from your organizations that mainly a lot of you represent on this call. And I was just looking through the 45 initiatives that came out of that strategic planning exercise and pertaining to open space. So our land acquisition department has 20 people in it. I'm environmental and we only have 3 people. So it gives you an idea. I mean, we have, 294 center lane miles across 12 counties in Northern Illinois. I have no idea exactly how many acres of land that we would consider in our excess parcels. Some are farmed and leased, but one of the initiatives that they identified for us, or that, the meetings that brought all of the leaders of your organizations and mine together, came up with 45 different initiatives. And one of them, which is number 25, I could share it, or I can just read it. It says leverage. Actually, do you mind if I share it? Is that weird?
No, please.
Do you guys need to see so I'm not just, okay. Let's see if I can get it here. There we go. Okay. So this was what the document that was published and is on the Tollway's website. You can just Google Illinois Tollway Strategic Plan and see these, 13 pages. But they identified, the governor's office gave us our guiding pillars to go through. So those included the goals over here: organizational excellence, diversity and equity, mobility and economic investment, sustainability, and innovation and technology. But then the group that got together from the leadership of the Chicagoland area organizations identified these 45 initiatives for us. And I'm going to zoom in to number 25 because it reads, the recommendation was for the Tollway to leverage assets by making available compatible commercial leases and dispose of surplus land in partnership with local land use jurisdiction. And so I oftentimes find myself in a position where I'm trying to create pollinator habitat on my open space areas. We're trying to constantly look at, expanding our drainage, making our detention ponds, not just square ponds that are very, mowed turf with 1 foot of water the whole way. We're really trying to make diverse hydrologic zones and be more resilient. But it's difficult when I have a land acquisition team who wants to sell off our excess parcels, because that's really the only open space that we have control of in our right of way. And I will say, when we're adjacent to a forest preserve district, we'd much rather have the forest preserve district have control over the land, because they're much better at, creating the biodiversity and maintaining that than we are. However, I'm trying to constantly find that balance. And so having the support to create pollinator habitat is great and be, environmentally sustainable and resilient. Conduct beautification, you'll see that comes right after it, right? But then that is in conflict with asking us to sell off our excess parcels to others. And so I'm kind of torn with that. And so that's one of the, I guess, reasons why I wanted to listen into the things you guys have to say in this committee as we go forward for the year, because I'm going to have to find ways to be able to, when it feels right, justify to my land acquisition department not to let a parcel go, and showing that the pollinator habitat might not be a infrastructure asset to us, but it is an asset, and these people support that. And so that's kind of a struggle I'll be going forward and using some of the information I get from you guys for.
What's interesting is in Southern California, where agriculture has been pushed out in favor of development, there are farmers that now are farming within the what do you call them, the horseshoes or the shamrocks, the entryways and exits to highways. There's strawberry farms and other farms that are farming in that, because that is the only available land in particular. Orange County is what I'm talking about. And so it's kind of interesting, like when land runs out, your land that you're holding on to became the most precious of all land. And Ted, did you have something to share?
Yeah, Kelsey, I'm just wondering, do you have an idea of how much land in surplus you hold that is not in the rights of way that you pollinate off the top of your head?
Yeah, that's a good question. These are the numbers I know. I know that we own at any day it changes, because we're buying and selling easements constantly. But around 7,500 acres total we own. And I think majority of that is paved, but I would say there's 3,500 acres of unpaved area. And then some of the larger parcels are wetland mitigation. So we would buy up farmland and then, deed it over to the Forest Preserve District. So for example, like in Lake County, there's 250 acres that for a time being said it was the tollways, but the goal was ultimately, once it's restored, was to deed it back. So it can flux,
Sure.
but yeah, so it's not a lot. And that's where my pollinator reportable acres for pollinator habitat was around 600 acres. But again, it's, for example, the interchange at I-88 and Route 47 in King County. So, Sugar Grove was looking at, there's development of residential subdivisions coming near that intersection. We use a new ramp with toll access as the economic growth around it as a positive thing. You'll hear our leadership constantly say our new interchange created new development, which increased the value for those. But that's also one of the areas where I have 12 acres of what was a leased farm that we've converted to pollinator habitat, but King County Forest Preserve wasn't quite interested in it because it's going, it's next to Blackberry Creek, but it's projected to be residential homes probably, not too soon. So it's very difficult, and each situation is unique, but it is nice to have the quick reference to be able to provide and show value for the parcels we have that are open.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you, Kelsey.
Or did you have something? Oh, you're muted again, Lon.
Building on that, I appreciate that information, but I also think if they're going back to the conversation about what can we do as an alliance to kind of help support you, I'm wondering if a conversation between goal 4, which is protecting landscapes for biodiversity protection, growing with ag, and potentially prioritizing green infrastructure, talking about rights of way, not putting you on the spot in this, but sort of highlighting some of these critical areas, or the I don't know. I'm just trying to think, is like there's something that can be across team sort of cafe or conversation that would give you more support for what you need to do.
Yeah, I guess first is for that 12-acre parcel that I was using as an example near Sugar Grove. That was farmed, and it was row crop. So
Yeah.
it was showing a profit for someone. It was providing economic value to someone. In pollinator habitat, my team isn't great at maintaining it, but it's there, especially with development encroaching. So to hear you guys say what would be the best use of the parcel and make a recommendation, say farmland's needed, that's important, or, just developing the prairie root structure and having space for pollinators along a corridor is more important. That's helpful to me for my own decision-making process and who I talk to when it's getting on the chopping block for excess parcels. But I guess just a place to go to point to when it comes to an initiative like that, where the next capital program is going to be looking at identifying these excess parcels. And it seems like there'll be a tug of war between either a local municipality who wants to see it developed, because Tollway doesn't pay, state agencies don't pay local taxes and they want tax revenue, versus, hey, we might need this because the 100-year flood isn't what it was before. We might need it as open space. So just being able to come to you for the references to provide to those I need to is helpful.
Okay.
Kelsey, I don't know that area very well. I know it generally, but I'm wondering if a helpful aid to you wouldn't be looking at, and I know it's a very different scenario, but when Millennium Park was created, it raised the property values of adjacent properties something like 800%, because there was open space that was seen as a resource and an asset to the adjacent residential communities. Again, I don't know this area really well and if there's other open space available, but that might be a good study to point you to give you some resources and ammunition, because open space does raise property values also.
Yes, that's exactly what I need.
Okay.
Those are the references I'll be listening for.
I will
And
try
legislation
to
too.
that study for you and email it to you if I can find it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Parcels like that are also extremely valuable to new and beginning farmers that can't access high quality farmland in Illinois because cash rents are too high and the spaces are too large. There is a huge growing movement in the metro Chicago area to move out of urban gardening towards much more suburban and peri-urban growing. And so I see an opportunity for you to partner even with folks like Michelle at the Forest Preserve District on developing some of these sites for young and beginning farmers, because they desperately need land outside. They have outgrown the city of Chicago.
Yes, that's very cool. That would be specifically Will County. I could try to identify the ones there.
It's the Will County, I'd say, is the easiest place for them to get land. The hardest place being Lake County, and Kane County, I think, has a lot to offer, but the land there is so expensive that accessibility is a huge problem. But it's a good place for farmers, thanks to people like Michelle.
Is that the name of the program too? The Young Farmer Program?
Well, I'll tell you, Farm Foundation, we're about to launch a national initiative called Farm Path. It's going to launch in February. It's a multi-million-dollar project funded by PepsiCo and the Mosaic Foundation for Sustainable Agriculture. And it's going to bring in 300 beginning farmers that are brand new to agriculture and take them through a 3-year education mentorship course. And then it gives them cash, equipment, seeds, everything else. But the one thing they're all missing is land. And so anywhere we can find opportunities, because these people can make a living on an acre, 5 acres, 10 acres. It does not require a 10,000 acre farm to be profitable with market gardens. So that's what we're looking for. Great. Thank you so much for that, Kelsey. That was great. And I would welcome a larger conversation, and we could organize a conversation with similar organizations to meet with you and talk through ideas. I'm sure we've got lots of them. So
Sounds good. Thanks.
absolutely. Bob.
Hey, Tim, I'm thinking that your reference to that Indiana farmer surprising you in El Paso makes me think that, again, to the fact that, you know, we're a 4-state organization, perhaps a cafe would be to invite Claire from American Farmland Trust, who's their Midwest policy manager, to get some, you know, get a perspective from each of the 4 states, including the person from Indiana. If they don't have to necessarily be in the 4-state, 38 county region, but anything that builds a conversation around the 4 states. And Claire could talk about the particular thing that she's pushing in the legislature this year, but put it in some kind of regional context.
Absolutely. I think everybody is concerned about and talking about data centers and the natural resources required, not just the land they're taking, but the water that they're taking and how they're targeting rural areas. And if you put solar farms on top of that, that's something that is a massive issue here in the Chicago wilderness area, particularly here in Will County. We're giving up thousands of acres of AA farmland to solar projects. And, you know, I think there's not a unified voice on these things that's being heard at the legislative level. You know, they're hearing the energy benefits, which nobody disputes, but we are losing prime farmland that simply isn't going to be replaced with agrivoltaics.
Well, there's your news hook. That's the topic right there.
Yeah. All right, Ted, I think that's all I had if you want to move forward. Thank you.
All right. I think we then turn it over to Michelle to talk about Congress and Congress field trips.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was looking for my notes. I had Session Lab up. I don't know what happened to it. Okay. So as far as our field trip for 2026, we've decided to make our field trip during Congress, November 6th at Lake County College. We're going to concentrate on like urban ag, food systems, farms in the area and that are educational, and demonstration farms like Farm Foundation, Liberty Prairie. I've reached out to them already to see if they would like to accommodate us. And we have a team for Congress to build these field trips. We're hoping to have a day, which would be the day, so November 5th, the day before Congress, to visit some of these areas. And then the day of Congress, we were hoping to have a little session at the college because they have their urban ag facility there. Some of the other ideas that I was also throwing around, because Liberty Prairie does have, they have grazing, they have livestock. In Kane County, we have all grass farms, which a lot of you are familiar with. Again, that's it's a success story about food systems and, you know, what they lend to the community. I mean, he's so far reaching, and I haven't asked him yet, but we have a lot of ideas, and having a day-long field trip, very much like we did in the past, we're going to need, you know, we have a few people helping coordinate this. We'll probably need a few more. Obviously, we'll have a lunch involved, maybe something after, we don't know. So next February 2nd, we're having a field trip planning meeting at 11 o'clock. Laura will put that information in the chat and in our meeting notes. After speaking with Bob and Tim and Ted and Laura, I think getting the news out about where we can go, and how important it is. So if anybody has suggestions on areas, we don't have anything that specifically showcases an urban agriculture. Allgrass Farms is in Dundee. It is not exactly urban, but we would appreciate any suggestions. And so we're starting it all over again. And what else? Oh, so Tim, I was going to ask you, the Farm Path program, I know we spoke about it before. Is that also for renting
Yeah,
farmland for your participants?
Yeah, it's not intended to lead to land ownership or anything like that.
Okay.
It's really just to educate people about the new paradigm.
Yeah. Okay. We recently lost our organic license, and that is 18 acres. The beauty of it is our community gardens for St. Charles, our Geneva Park District, is adjacent, and there's access to water. I know. So this little parcel is going to become part of, as you know, my dream to have local growers in Kane County. So it's vacant. We do not have a tenant on it right now. We may get somebody on there maybe to do pumpkins or something, because we don't have a water line on it. But so this is something moving forward, working with the county and potentially the Master Urban Farmer Training Program through Kane County. The individuals that complete that program perhaps can have a little incubator plot. I don't know a lot about starting incubator farms and plots. But this would be a working situation. It wouldn't necessarily be like a demonstration farm. But hoping to, bring in community, because it's 18 acres, we could do a lot, renting, bringing in revenue. It's just the infrastructure, as you know, infrastructure, equipment, and working with county, we're gonna see if we can apply for some grants. And so my next big idea, and having help from anybody at Chicago Wilderness with ideas would be very helpful, and the Farm Path plan as well. So we have bison, so if anybody wants to come up and see the bison, let me know. It's not open to the public yet, but I'll get you in.
When do they start calving, Michelle?
In the spring.
Right.
We don't know if we have any pregnant females. We have 3 boys and 3 girls. Well, we don't. American Indian Center owns the herd. We have a license agreement, a bison conservation license agreement with them. They arrived December 5th, and I've been up there several times, seeing what I call my friends, and I think one might be pregnant. I don't know, but they're all under 3 years old. We have 1 bull that's 3, and so if anybody wants to come out and see them, the story is fabulous, and I would love to have you out before the general public gets out to see them.
I live only like, 10 miles from there as the crow flies. So I was there in that preserve right before you guys announced they were coming.
Oh, nice.
Can't wait to go in the spring.
Yeah, it's an expansive preserve. Hopefully, this year we'll get our other pasture built. So right now they're on like 32 acres. I'm hoping we can have another 55 to 60 acres. That's part of the license agreement with AIC. So it'll be a nice, beautiful expanse. So
I know like the parking lot and pavilion's kind of on the northwest side. So are the 30 acres there on visible from there, or you would have to take a walking path?
no, the 30 acres is just southeast of the pavilion and the parking. And then the next pasture will be then just southwest of there. So we're gonna try to make the pasture go around the pavilion and parking area. So there's a lot of plans to improve the parking. Parking is for like 6 people right now. It needs a little improvement. But open to the public in March, end of March. So yeah, so stay tuned and yeah, I would love to take anybody up there that is interested.
Well, and Michelle and others, I don't know if you saw it or heard today, but in the Sun Times, there are 2 separate but related articles talking about the bison out there and the AIC involvement, and it was really cool to see.
Yeah, it's beautiful. CBS did a wonderful piece. They were there the day of filming the drumming, which in itself was, I mean, Laura, we were at AIC and remember just like the drumming in the community when the young man was drumming after the bison and during their release, he went to the side and he was drumming, and wouldn't you know it, they came around and they paid attention to him. There were 3 of them. I think the 3 females. And when he stopped, they turned and they walked away. It was magical. It was amazing. So yeah, they definitely, yeah, they're special.
I just got goosebumps. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys will have to.
We just went down to Kankakee Sands to visit the herd down there, and oh my gosh, it's gotten huge. There are so
Really?
many. Yeah, it's really impressive. They've really settled into that space. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, they reproduce quickly. So yeah, we got to get on getting those other acres out. So that's the only update I have. One thing I should mention, I was speaking with Brenda from McHenry County Conservation District. We were gonna try to get like a type of a bison summit going this year since our herds are so close together and it's the same management company. So perhaps, we could talk about that through Chicago Wilderness too. I don't know if we'll probably involve our indigenous partners as well. So that's just a little something that might be coming down the pike this year as well. And that's all I have.
Yeah, excellent. And I did drop those meetings in the chat. The one I really wanted to, there's 2 important conversations, like Michelle said, there's actually 3, but the January 26th meeting will be advancing the plenary keynote and sort of track conversation. And I think we've settled on a theme, which is CWA at 30, growing forward together, which gives a strong, it's a reflection of our past and our legacy, but also growing the importance of agriculture and stewardship and partnership moving forward. So that is the theme, but what happens next is the real work to identify the speakers and the tracks and how the plenary is shaped and formed. The second one that she mentioned, which is on February 2nd at 11 o'clock, is the field trip conversation. Thank you, Kyla. I see that you dropped another idea into the chat about Eden Restoration Project. And John Wasik had a conversation with the College of Lake County about the Urban Ag Center that they're opening in Waukegan being a potential stop along the way for the field trip. So there's lots of ideas, and there's not only going to be probably based on energy and leadership, there will probably be at least 2 field trips, but we do have to kind of come up with the structure and like Michelle said, the budget and the costs and what comes next. And so those conversations will be happening the next 2 Mondays. And so I really do invite you, even if you don't want to be involved with Congress conversations for the long haul, being a part of these early conversations is really important, because this is where a lot of these real big ideas and conversations are just being flushed out, and we just kind of need to kind of get the ball rolling now in earnest. So thanks.
I think I'm next again on the Will County initiative. So for a couple of years now, we have, based on Tim's experience and wisdom, focused on Will County because they're losing a lot of their small farm inholdings to sales. And Bob has been helping us with some ideation of infrastructure for retaining some of those small landholders in terms of processing, slaughter, that kind of stuff. Because what we found through informal conversations and formal conversations is that really, if you have small farms, they have a hard time either getting their product to market. Not so much in the case of vegetables and crops, but more so in the case of animals and herding. So processing facilities won't take less than something like 80 to 100 head. And that means that if you have 2 cows or 3 cows, you really can't get your product to market. So what we're interested in is a planning session, a master plan to help the county retain some of the small farms, but also connect them to the southern Kankakee region, which has a lot of opportunity and a lot of existing farms, as well as the markets in Chicago. So that was what I had posted in the newsletter today. There's the short description there, but as we go out with the hard launch, we have been culling and gathering specific emails and organizations that we think might be interested in this project in Chicago, in Will County, and in Kankakee to see if they're interested in participating. So that's basically what is in the newsletter. And if you are interested, we are going to be sending out an email with a one-pager, a short description of the project, and then the form that is in the newsletter for sign up, so that we can get folks we can see if folks are interested, and then based on the interest, we will then go out to funding, because we hope that the interest will be large and varied by a lot of community members. And if we show that interest, then we have a couple key funders in mind, where we can take this and get these workshops and master plans started to come out with a master plan, so that we can help some of these farmers retain their land and build infrastructure for them, so they aren't struggling as much. Bob, I know you have a section of this that you're sort of taking under your wing. Do you want to share what you're working on?
Yeah, so thanks, Ted. Yeah, I'm interested in reading about that. So yeah, okay, well, it's in the newsletter. I'll check it out. So I had a meeting a week ago with the Will County executive, who one of her hats is the elected leader there, as she chairs the Will County Center for Economic Development, and she's invited me to seek seed funding to kickstart a multi-year project called Bringing Good Food for All to Will County and Beyond. And phase 1 is public information coalition building and fundraising. And it's to support the Will County Health Departments. Well, but basically, it's to put together well-resourced supply chain partnerships, enabling agri-food production and financing system. This is not about following money. It's about organizing the money. Compeer Financial is very interested in this, largest ag lender in Illinois. So the first step is to establish things in Will County And secondly, is to tee up a regional conversation to make Feed the Hungry the cornerstone of establishing an alliance program. The committee, we've been incubating this idea for some years. There's no leadership to implement the regional planning agency's goal to grow Chicagoland's ag tech, and food processing center to a national model for equitable growth and innovation. So sort of looking at how we can get this project started using a lot of local food forum articles to shape a narrative, and to share that regionally, and to have something that will be ready to for the Growing Forward Together project in November and beyond. Any questions or comments?
And that goes for both of us.
Is that Economic Development Department part of the county government, or is it a separate non-governmental?
It's a separate non-governmental, but closely aligned. And you know, and for the purposes of our group, the Doug Pryor, the CEO, he was recently named to the Greater Chicagoland Economic Partnership. So when we think about a Growing Forward Together theme, the Greater Chicagoland Economic Partnership is a spin-off. The World Business Chicago is now trying to be the economic development entity for the entire 7-county region. And the current chair of that organization is heads up the Lake County Economic Development Agency. I don't know much about them, but again, I think we'd be wanting to loop the Greater Chicagoland Economic Partnership. So like the planning of this, you know, jumpstarting this conversation about food system finance to feed the hungry and supply markets beyond that, bringing in traditional economic development is a real vital partner that's going to help the Growing with Ag Committee, you know, build bridges to the broader nature conservation coalitions within this alliance.
And Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but we still see these as sort of two linked but separate projects, you know, traveling down the same road in different lanes, if you will, sort of at the same speed, more or less, right?
Yeah, that's a great tollway metaphor. I'm not sure. I want to read. I want to learn what you're doing, but I mean, yeah, I'm not clear on what exactly you got going on, but I'll look into it. We'll follow up. So.
Excellent. Well, I note that we have 3 minutes left, and I think this was a pretty good meeting. I'm willing to give you 3 minutes back in your day, unless there's new business. I don't know of any, but I think our next meeting will be next quarter. So that's what?
It's actually in May. I saw so I can drop the link in, but I'll grab that real quick. Are there any announcements from any partners? Oh, actually, April 17th, actually. That was just an old announcement in the slides, I think.
I was going to ask, I'm not sure if Kyla maybe is the person from the Conservation Foundation, right, or not, but does anyone on this call by chance have a Enviroscape model? Watershed model? Is that the non-point source solution one? I think I've used that before. Gosh, I get it from the zoo. Yeah, I'm looking to borrow one. So if you know of someone who has one to loan, let me know. I was going to mention, if you were looking for more volunteers in the Lake County area, Navigate Lake County is an annual event that I think Lake County ROE office holds, and they have so many volunteers for that. They're I think I brought the Enviroscape there. I borrowed that from the Russell Woods Forest Preserve naturalist Peggy there. But anyway, they had just teams of volunteers, and so you guys are right up their alley. So.
Kelsey, I'm not sure what an Enviroscape model is, but if it's what I'm thinking of, I think IDNR has a good one that you might want to reach out to.
Maybe Jeremy Strickland. Jeremy Strickland. It's like the one about non-point source pollution, right?
You pour water on it, and you watch where it flows, and you see it soak in areas, and you flow off other areas.
They're all taken.
Did you get it from Jeremy, or was Jeremy who used it?
I saw it at the state fair this summer. So I don't know if he. I would imagine he knows about it. And when I tell you about the Millennium Park stuff, I can include Jeremy's contact in there too.
Oh, but I do not use the one I just dropped in. That's his old one. But I'll find his new one. Hold on one second.
Yeah, Kelsey, this is Kyla. I was also gonna say we do have them. So I'm not sure all with the education team. Like, I can get you connected to the right person at the Conservation Foundation to kind of inquire maybe about borrowing it. I'll put my email in the chat too.
Perfect, because I email Stephen for everything, but McCracken. But I know that when I was at that Lake County event, they one of the Grays Lake science teachers, he asked me if I wanted him to 3D print myself one. Like, I told him this is I had to borrow this watershed model, and he said, well, would you like one of your own? And I said, yeah, but I'd like one with more roads and bridges with rivers under them and outfalls, and he's like, well, maybe my tech class could 3D print you one. So he was going to reach out to me, and I had never heard back from him.
Oh my gosh.
You should include wildlife crossings on that, Kelsey.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Awesome. Oh, great.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you very much.
Have a great weekend. Stay warm.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.